Today, we have a entrepreneurial chronicle. I'm super excited about bringing this lady on. I want to formally introduce her as Dr. Amanda Jones, and she happens to be my doctor. I mean, honestly, they've carried me in literally like not able to walk, and I have walked out after my treatment. But Amanda is a chiropractor, and I am anybody that knows me knows, like, I am a huge believer in chiropractors. I think that chiropractors are like still legitimate healers in this day and age. And I've got a little smart cracking joke that I'm sure I'll interject in here somewhere along the way. But not only is Amanda a chiropractor, she is very much a full-fledged entrepreneur. So Amanda, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Oh, I mean, that's what I said. I've not only myself, but I think a couple of them have been looking forward to this interview in general. But when we get to Entrepreneurial Chronicles, it is this is the type of information that I'm trying to bring out there to people that I wish had been out there when I started my entrepreneurial journey. And while you are a wonderful chiropractor, through the years have followed to know that you have that entrepreneurial bug, and it's as I have learned and gotten to know other chiropractors, I have found that that entrepreneurial spirit does tend to where I'm seeing it exist in a lot of chiropractors. So generally speaking, I'm like, well, then let's dive right in and let's go all the way back to the beginning. I mean, like the beginning of maybe necessarily life or where you started to think about what you wanted to do with your life. Where did it all begin?
Well, I would say that it began when I was a teenager. Actually, it sounds grim, but my grandpa was on his deathbed, and he said, "Honey, I'm proud of you. Stay in school, make something of yourself." And from then on, quitting wasn't an option. So I had worked in like a plastic bottle factory for a little while, and I just saw the people in there. They were kind of miserable. They'd been there for quite a few years. Some of them had cancer. Some of them, they were just not very happy with their lives. And so I knew I had to do something where I can, make myself happy.
Exactly. So I mean, so you didn't choose the stereotypical medical route. Then what led you to chiropractic?
That's a really funny story as well. I was actually I worked with exotic animals.
Okay. Exotic animals, expound upon that.
Tigers, ligers, bears, anything you can think of. I worked at an exotic animal farm. I also worked at Disney World for a little while. I had a full ride scholarship to Charles Darwin or Murdoch University in Australia. I was going to do strictly animals.
Really?
So I was actually going to be a veterinarian. And working as a vet tech for a little while, I had to do some, help assist with the euthanizing. And that just killed my heart. I just couldn't do it. And so I'm like, there has to be some way I can help animals without drugs or surgery. And somebody said you can be an animal chiropractor. I'm just a country girl from out in the sticks. I had never even been to a chiropractor before. And so in the meantime, I had actually gotten a bachelor's in chemistry. Because I couldn't stop. Stop, and I did love science. So when somebody told me about being an animal chiropractor, I looked into it right then, and I signed up for chiropractic school. The next term literally started in 5 days. I got my acceptance letter. I had 2 days to move to St. Louis, and hadn't even been adjusted ever.
Really? You had no frame of reference to somebody.
Nope.
See, and an entrepreneur that's jumping in. I
took a risk, and I got into chiropractic school, and I absolutely loved helping people. So I haven't even been interested in the animal aspect of it since then.
Really? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, once you got into it, it just totally, that piece of it kind of faded off, and you just found your way into the medical side of it.
Yes.
Okay. So you get out of the chiropractor school. I mean, okay, so when you say you're from the sticks, I mean, like here.
I'm from Southern Illinois. Come from a village of 1,000 people. All the other cities, towns around have like 44 people or 66, or, the biggest town nearby was, 20 minutes away, and it had 7,000 people. My parents were very, very poor. There was no opportunity there at all. Mm-hmm. I actually dropped out of high school because I did help my mom she had twins, and she was a single parent, and So I got a lot of tardies and stuff. And so I eventually, like 5 days before the end of my junior year, I quit because I was about to lose my credits for missing too many days.
Okay.
And then I quit, homeschooled myself, and I graduated before the rest of my class. And then that's whenever I started college.
Wow. Okay, so I mean, which leads to the obvious question: a town of 66 in Illinois, and you go to St. Louis to become a chiropractor.
Yes.
How do you end up landing in Kokomo, Indiana?
Well, that's a funny story. I have lots of funny stories. But actually, I met my ex-husband in chiropractic school.
Oh, okay.
He's a chiropractor in Peru.
Okay.
And his father is as well. I started out working with them for about a year, and then I decided to open my own. And so I opened one here in Kokomo while we were still together. But there's so much more opportunity here in Kokomo. I couldn't practice the way I want to practice, so I stayed.
Okay.
And now I've moved most of my family up here, and I love Kokomo.
Really? So you've been relocating all of your family up here?
Yes.
Because the thing is that, I mean, this is where I'll inject my story. My chiropractor, his name is John Sharpless. And John trusted me for 15 or 20 years. And I'm not exactly sure how you two made your connection, but I mean, John had due to his own issues, he had closed down his initial practice, and then he was operating at the time inside of your
Yeah, he
your
was
facility.
just kind of using the tables, and
Yeah.
just a mutual respect between the two of us.
Mm-hmm. And John was always, the thing is what I appreciated about John was that John trusted me. He knew I knew my own body, so if I knew that he didn't get something, that I could tell him and be like, John, you go harder, you didn't get it, and he trusted that I knew. But the point being, in the midst of that was that progression where you were trying to getting your own feet under you and trying to develop your own customer base. And you made a comment about that you'd be happy to adjust me. And then I remember thinking and looking at you and being like, no, I don't. I just, the adjustment of the moving and the way John adjusted me was like, I just didn't think that you were capable of getting that movement. And I was very comfortable with John for many years. But the point being, then I came in one day and John wasn't there. And I was in pain, and I was like, okay, I need some type of relief. You're up. I need something. And I remember getting the adjustment and was like, holy shit, I have never been manhandled that way. I cannot believe the movement that you were able to perform. And not only that, you did it in about 1/10 of the time that John always spent, because that was every chiropractor has their own type of adjustment style, but John's was always more of a slow, take your time. I think John might have been able to see like tops 3 patients an hour. And your adjustment was fast and quick, and I'm going to say you could probably adjust 20 people an hour.
Probably pretty close. Yeah, I sometimes see over 100 in a day.
Okay.
8-hour days.
Yeah, you have a very specific regimen technique that creates movement. I've joked because I've told them that I want to get a shirt for you, and we're going to put a QR code on it that just says "Best Crack in Town."
That's the best.
Yes, and so when they scan that code, then they will find their way to unlimited chiropractic. But I mean, like, this story is just beginning and just starting to unfold. So again, when I found you over there, you were over on it was that little building. And I think it's a smoke shop now because you've moved a couple times, but that was where you really started to get your feet under you. And then you moved more or less across the street.
I was at 211 North Washington, and then I moved to 301 and then 511.
Yeah. And then so the 301 is where we really started to get to know each other. And I watched you kind of really develop your own practice and come into your own. Before we get to the 511, I mean, like, I know that there's that entrepreneurial spirit is in there. I know that you had other side projects and other things going on. So I mean, like, so from that beginning of where I met you with John, how is it that you're your program and everything evolved?
Oh, that's a really good question. Actually, inside my building, I mean, I outgrew the first space and moved into the next one. And I was thinking to myself, there's got to be, like if I'm ever done adjusting, then, or if there's something ever happens to my wrist and I'm done adjusting, there's got to be other ways for me to make money. So I was like, I need to form some passive income. So just little by little, in each different room in the building, I would think of like something that could make me make an income without me having to have my hands on a person. And so I first bought some hydro massage tables.
Which the producer of this episode is Mr. Matt Bradshaw, and he is one of your raving fans of those hydro jets. That's like they're awesome. I mean, like you wouldn't think of it, but it's like imagine like a jet ski underneath a protective mat where you lay on it, and it literally just multiple jets rolling up and down from the top of your neck all the way down through. I mean, it's like legit high pressure massage. Like, yes. And that was the first that I had ever known anything like that. But it was, I mean, definitely a solid addition to your overall operation.
It also just did end up helping my adjusting as well, because it relaxes the muscles and allows for, the adjustment to go a little bit easier. So it was kind of a 2-for-1 kind of thing.
Okay, so that wasn't the only thing that you installed.
Then I added inversion therapy. So I added an inversion table, which helped a lot of the disc issues for people. And then later on, I decided to add float therapy. Okay.
So, and I guess let's go back for the people that are, because I mean, some of this stuff is through talking to other chiropractors, I was learning this when I started questioning why is it that chiropractors have these different types of adjustments. When you went to chiropractic school, did they say, here's the different types of 10 techniques that different chiropractors use, and you kind of found your way into your own? Or, I mean, how do they teach that? How is it that you found your style?
There are, I think there's 13 schools in the U.S.
Okay.
And each of them does have their own style, but in general, they teach like 11 to 13 core techniques. Okay. Yes. And then there's a whole bunch of elective ones you can take. You can either travel and take them. And so that's where they develop their style.
Okay.
But also I had mentors. My ex-father-in-law, he really beats people up in a good way. So it made me not afraid of being like a more firm adjuster.
Okay. So is it, I mean, because that's the thing is that, because I remember, I mean, the day that you quote unquote broke your record in adjustments for a single day, you also threw your back out. So yes. So I'm sitting there going, I mean, like you're bringing up a legitimate point that your type of work really does break your own body down. It is very, very
physical. 5 days in on that, I think I had 106 patients that day. My 5th patient in, I had hurt my back really bad. It was excruciating. Every single adjustment that day was excruciating. I kind of brought that on myself. I'd went to a Gen Con, which is a big gaming conference before that. So I sat in folding chairs for hours, for days before that. And so I think my back just wasn't ready for it.
Got stiff.
Yep. And then everybody, was there that day. So
wow.
It was a really cool day.
Okay, so, I mean, I know that you have been developing a little bit of a real estate portfolio. Is that just like a side hobby? Or?
It is. I was just trying to think of what I can do as a retirement plan.
Okay.
So I'm just like, well, I'd like to make one rental house every single year. And even if it doesn't make me a lot of income right now, it's something that I can fall back on if I ever am not adjusting.
That's, and again, the entrepreneurial spirit inside of itself. But I mean, I think that it's really great that you're looking into the future and starting to, I don't necessarily want to say planning an exit, but planning a transition, because in your facility now, I mean, that like it is rare that you will find a chiropractor that basically offers 7-day-a-week service. Obviously, you can't offer 7-day-a-week service, but it's puts you in that entrepreneurial staffing the facility to make sure that there's somebody on staff 7 days a week when they need the adjustments in general.
And when it's required of me, I do work 7 days a week. I actually went for a 11-month stretch recently where I was doing 7 days per week.
And it's exhausting.
It is very exhausting. And
Yep.
so it's a blessing when I do get another doctor that is in there. And I have somebody in there now that's really amazing. So
Good. So you've been able to find somebody that's really helped balance the load.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I can go down so many rabbit holes on this because I want, like, it infuriates me when a regular doctor does not give the credibility to a chiropractor that I think a chiropractor deserves. So what is chiropractic?
Chiropractic is basically, realigning the body so that it can actually function in its best way possible.
Mm-hmm.
So every single nerve that we have comes straight from our spine. We have nerves that we think about just the nerves that go down our arms and legs, but that's not it. We have nerves that go to our heart, our lungs, our liver, our intestines. We have nerves that go to every single organ. And if our spine is not aligned properly, it actually interferes with the communication from the brain to all of those organs.
No, and I can attest, because if my lower back goes out, my digestive system is disturbed.
Very, very, very common. That's a lot of people's first sign that things are out of place. They start having digestive issues.
Yep, and by digestive issues, I mean everything can just like block up and like no movement, which then just only compounds the problem as a whole. Mm-hmm. So. And I guess I should. How many years have you actually been adjusting now?
I've been practicing for a little over 10 years now.
Okay, and I mean honestly, it's like I've watched your practice grow, and I do think a lot of that is attributed to you don't take appointments, do you?
Nope.
No,
Nope.
It's just a walk-in because you are so fast. It does not matter because I'd be like, it doesn't matter whether you're in a drive-through or what. Like if I go somewhere and I'm like, yeah, there's too many people, I'm going to wait too long. No, generally not with you. Like the room can be full, and I know that you will move through them fast, especially if I'm in pain and I need the adjustment. But you do, like I've had an adjustment by probably a dozen chiropractors. Yours is probably the fastest, most efficient. But like I'm not going to deny, like that day that I brought Rebecca in with me, and she saw and heard it, and she was like, "Oh, I don't. No,
it's
I don't want
terrifying
that."
to watch.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel as aggressive whenever it's actually being done on you.
Yeah.
But it looks aggressive to watch it.
So, I mean, and I towards that end of it, I mean, because Rebecca is a smaller type of individual. I mean, do you serve a lot of those people, or?
Yes. Not every single patient is adjusted the same. Every single individual person that comes in, I find out what's going on with them, what kind of adjustments they want. So some people just, I just want just my low back done, or I want gentle adjustments, or I just want you to use the clicker tools.
Exactly. Well, and I question that because I was like, I didn't even understand the function of the clicker tool until I had a chiropractor explain to me that it was that the adjustment was not about the aggression. It was about the lightning fast.
The amplitude, yeah.
Yes. So
The
explain.
velocity.
Okay.
Yes, an adjustment, if somebody was just to take your head and move it to the side, or your middle back and push it straight down, if you go slow, it's probably not going to do a whole lot. It actually requires a high velocity, low amplitude force through the spine to actually move properly.
Okay.
And if you don't go quick enough, then the muscles will tense up and be like, and resist. What did you just do to me? I'm going to fight back.
Yes, and that's exactly because when you're adjusting my hips, I need you to surprise, like my body is in anticipation of it, and I need you to be a second or two faster than what my body is expecting, so that the movement actually occurs. Because your body starts to anticipate those kind of things, and yes, once the muscles get involved, then it stops that adjustment from happening. Is that about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's part of my job is kind of tricking the muscles into not tensing up. So
or getting to it before you're like, damn, too late. Can't,
yes.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously you outgrew your first location, and then you outgrew your second location.
Yes.
And now it's 511.
511 North Washington. Yeah, my first building was 1,000 square feet. My second building was 1,600 square feet. and my new one's 4,700 square feet. I pretty much have every single room occupied in my new building. I really would love even more. There happens to be a tiny building attached. If it ever comes for sale one day, I'm going to go for it.
But the thing is I'm sitting there going, you've also really grown and expanded your services as well.
Yes.
So tell us about that, because I mean, I feel like at this point, like you have taken, let's just say the services available for a chiropractic operation to a whole new level.
Well, massage therapy was a big one. I've had a massage therapist that I've been trying to get into my practice for 5 years. Well, my second location was just too noisy. You could hear the vehicles just right on the side of the road. And so when I got the new building, he finally came and brought somebody else with him, and they are amazing.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, like, obviously the backbone of everything is built on chiropractic, but walk us through the actual building itself. What are all of the services?
Sure. As soon as you walk in the building, of course, you've got the waiting room there, and just the first door you come to is actually a foot massage room. So there's these nice kind of shiatsu massagers. They massage your feet, they massage your calves. We play relaxing music for you. There's fountains in the room. It's very relaxing.
Is this a machinery?
It's actually a machine. Yeah, you go in there and then you turn it on. People go in there and they read books, or they just listen to the relaxing music.
I mean, I'd fall asleep. But
Doesn't need a foot massage. Yeah.
Yep.
And then right after that, I have 2 adjusting rooms, so that I can go. So I can
rotating back and forth.
Yes, rotate back and forth.
You load one as I'm. Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes, but we don't run them through like cattle like that. But it's nice having 2 adjusting rooms. This is the first time I've had 2, because I've always just operated with 1 table. And then right after that are 2 float rooms.
Okay, now you're gonna have to explain this, because I mean I have a basic visual, but I don't understand.
So float therapy is it's kind of like floating in the Dead Sea. It's 1,000 pounds of Epsom salts in about 10 inches of water. So it's so salty you could not sink even if you tried. Okay. And the air and the water's heated to the same temperature as your skin. So if you were laying in there, you actually don't, whenever you're in a regular bathtub, you bring your arm out and you feel the coldness. And so you know where your arm is in space. With everything being the same temperature, you don't really feel any of the sensations. So you don't even feel the effects of gravity. Okay. So you kind of feel like you're floating. If you choose to turn off the lights and shut the door, it's pitch dark in there and you don't hear anything typically, because you put earplugs and your ears are under the water. And so it's just deep relaxation. Then you get all kinds of benefits from the Epsom salts. The magnesium in them relaxes your muscles. It helps with aches and pains. In general, if you have aches and pains, they say have an Epsom salt bath. Well, this is like 1,000 times that.
Really? Okay, because I hear people that will say that, and I'm like, yeah, I ain't got a bath. I got a shower. What are you talking about? So I mean, and what is Epsom salts? And that's so high magnesium.
High magnesium is magnesium sulfide.
Okay.
And regular table salts like sodium chloride.
Yep.
So there's complete different properties than regular salt.
So total health benefit, not just for the purposes of literal flotation.
It actually improves your blood oxygen levels.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have 2 of those.
We have 2 of those, and they're large enough for couples floats. So it's really nice.
Wow. Okay. So we've got the chiropractic and the shiatsu foot massage and the float tables and the massage therapists.
Yes. And then as soon as you come into the right, there's 6 bays, and the first 3 bays are hydro massage tables.
Okay. And I forgot because that was before. That was one of the first edition, was the hydro massage.
Yes, when I just had 1 at the old building, they just were not keeping up. So I eventually got 2, and then they were just cramped in a little space, but have made it work. And now I got to have 6 bays. So the first 3 are hydro massage tables, and then the next 2 bays we call them roller massage tables. They're technically called intersegmental traction. So it's a big roller ball that goes up and down your spine instead of the heated water jets. They go up and down your spine. And it just kind of decompresses you, but also massages you at the same time. And then the very last one is inversion table.
Okay. And don't get me wrong. I went out and bought my own inversion table. Like I am I'm going to be honest. Like you see me less because of my inversion table. I swear by them. They're Like when I finally saw the benefits, I was like, where has this been all my life? And then I laugh when I think about the commercials where I would see the old guy that would jump and he'd be like, I feel great. And it was all based on the inversion tables.
Yeah, they're very helpful.
So do you get a lot of people that actually use that, or is it something that you recommend?
We have a lot of people that use it because, some people have apartments. I mean, inversion tables do take up a lot of space in your apartment. So a lot of people get them because they have back pain and they need it for a little while, but then they don't use it for years and it collects dust and they end up selling them at a garage sale for a few dollars.
Exactly. I think that's basically how I got mine.
So a lot of them are like, I've had an inversion table before, but I just don't want to store one in my house. So they can pay $5 anytime and just come and use this one.
$5 is it?
Yep.
I mean, hey,
no matter how much time you use, yeah.
Okay. So, and I do believe you've got how many more services do you offer in the building?
We also have a person who's running a room and that does colonic therapy.
Okay.
So that's been really, that's actually starting to really pick up.
Is it really? Okay. And that's what I was about to say. I was familiar with that operation, and I have used it during my fasting, and I'm definitely a big believer in that as well. So, I mean, much the same way that Howard Schultz claims that his third space operation at Starbucks is so highly sought after that he could quit selling coffee and the business would still be desirable and a profitable operation. So do you think that you've built something now that if you couldn't perform your adjustments, that the operation is...
Yeah, absolutely. I think the building would do just fine even if I don't have chiropractic in there.
Okay,
I always do.
What's that?
I said, I hope that I always do have chiropractic in there because that's what started it all. Mm-hmm. But I think the building now, it would be fine. I'd be able to maintain it as a business without chiropractic.
And how many properties do you own now?
I have five properties now.
Okay, so you are well on your way to what you were. I mean, because again, that's the entrepreneurial journey itself. So in all of this, you've had to have made, what you would consider mistakes or learning lessons in your growth of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And every single one, you learn from. I'm trying to think of some of the bigger ones.
No, it's per se. You said you got stories. You got to give me a little bit of a. Well, wait a minute. I'm sitting there going, you have volunteered a lot of your time out of the States for chiropractic services.
Out of the States, yes.
Yes.
I've done mission trips.
Okay.
Chiropractic mission trips in Haiti. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no. That's because, I'm curious about it in general, but I'm familiar with missionary service work, but specifically missionary service work for chiropractic itself.
Yes, that was such an amazing time. I've been to Haiti 4 or 5 times since then just to visit the people because they are amazing. But yeah, that was a really good time. You just go with a group and they're... you come up to the orphanages in Haiti, in a specific town. We went to Wanamint in Haiti, and just go in there and you just adjust people.
Just total donation of your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the calling that led you to that?
I love to travel.
Okay.
So that was, I got to do both. I love chiropractic and I love to travel. So. But
somehow you get stuck working 7 days a week, 11 months a year.
Yes, sometimes. Yes.
Okay, so
But I'm trying to set myself up for the future so I don't have to do that.
And that's exactly it right there. And it seems like you are actually, well on your way in general. Yes. I really don't know how competitive the chiropractic industry is. I'm happy that it exists because, again, I feel like, you're operating on people without literally cutting anybody open. I guess that's how I view it. Because I had doctors that wanted to cut on me. It's funny that they would say that they want to fuse your discs. And then I'm like, well, then what's the side effect? Oh, well, then the problem just transfers up to the next disc. Well, then what's the fix to that? Oh, well, we just fuse that disc too. And I'm like, so slowly they just make you immobile. How is that necessarily fixing the problem? from your perspective, like if somebody has issues like that, are you still able to actually treat them?
Absolutely. Yeah. We can see pretty much anybody who has a spine. Some chiropractors do choose not to, like if there's a specific surgery, it's really the chiropractor's personal choice. Like, hey, you know, I don't feel comfortable adjusting you, or we can adjust all the areas, you know, above and below. But I really haven't really seen anybody that I've been afraid to adjust that I didn't think that I could help.
Okay. So basically, you've been able to blah, 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 blah. You've been able to help about everybody who actually comes through your door then?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Every once in a while, I'll have somebody come in and there'll be something that throws some red flags up for me. I'm like, well, you know what, just the signs, you know, I think that you may have a broken rib. I'd really recommend you go get an x-ray first or something like that. Mm-hmm. And they go out and get an x-ray. You're right. I had a broken rib, you know. And so those are the only cases, but usually those people have even came back in later and they're like, now my rib's healed. I want an adjustment.
And see, the thing is like I said, I can remember coming to you a couple times and been like, okay, something's not feeling right. And a lot of times it would be in the ribs, and you would make adjustments in areas that I just never even thought to, like inside of the shoulders and the elbows and like most people wouldn't even think that they were adjustable in general.
If there's a joint to your body, a joint is where two bones meet, then it can be manipulated. You know, that you can get pain in that joint. So we even have 3 bones in our ears that create 2 joints. So, you know, sometimes unexplained, you know, hearing stuff or pain can actually be in your ears.
Because I like create the ringing in the ears.
Yeah, it can, absolutely.
Maybe I just need my ears adjusted.
Maybe.
I don't know. They don't. I got pretty good hearing. They literally. I think that I don't know that they want it to get even better. But I do have that. I have noticed that, and I always contributed to the loud music or the working inside of the plant for all of the years. But I do have some ringing in my ears that comes and goes. I guess I never even gave consideration to that in general. So the future.
Future. Yes. I have some things cooking up. Right now I am in the middle of finishing up the paint for my room. I have an infrared sauna now. I should be opening that any day. I also have a huge room that I have dedicated to a giant salt cave. There's going to be yoga in the cave. So those are my next upcoming projects.
Well, you've got to be reaching capacity on this building.
I am. And I have another thing I want to do in the future, but I just don't have the space for it.
So you're going to end up buying up all the real estate in Kokomo and then start adding all of the pieces to putting them all together.
Maybe. I got to pace myself, though.
Yes. And it towards pacing yourself. As of late, I have been finding that my bandwidth has been getting tested. With all of the projects. And I literally had one of my coaches when I was talking to him about, should I do this or should I do this? And he was like, well, I don't know. Do you have the bandwidth for it? And I was like, yeah, I think I do. But upon taking on this new project, I've had new projects that have been brought to me, and I have literally turned them away by recognizing my limitations and saying, I just don't have the bandwidth for it right now. So how are you coping? How are you dealing with, finding your limitations? Have you found yourself over your skis, or have you been able to?
At some points I am, at some points I'm not. So as with opening, I wanted to have one. I wanted to get one rental house done every single year. Well, it's been 3 years and I have 2 done. Mm-hmm. I'm working on another, but I'm not upset that I'm behind the schedule on that because I've got this awesome new building and there's so many new projects that I want to do. I'm okay with putting that one on the back burner, and it's not, it's not breaking my heart.
But your main source of income, you have very much reinvested yourself in that, and obviously it's got to be you're able to just exponentially serve that many more people with all of those different services.
So exciting. I'm at the point where QuickBooks won't even let me take in any more. I've got to figure out a new system because they said you have every day I look at it and they're like, you can only fit 300 more patients or 300 more customers in here, 200 more customers. I'm like, I've got to.
You're literally reaching capacity on what the actual systems offer.
Yes. So.
Wow. That's crazy. Towards that end of it, though, I mean, I guess I know of a couple of other chiropractors that I'm not exactly sure what systems they are using, but I do know that there are definitely other systems out there to use. I found my way into I mean, they're expensive. That's the whole thing about technology is that any of the upgrades, they're out there, but obviously it.
Yeah, with bigger buildings become bigger bills as well, but just.
So, I mean, towards that end of it, did you take that into consideration?
I knew that the electric bills were going to be higher, but I also have a lot more equipment.
Yeah.
And so I can, even though the utilities are going to be higher, I have a lot more.
You're offering a lot more services.
I'm offering a lot more services. There's a lot more things that I can do.
So, beyond the next couple years, where do you see yourself?
Well, I see myself only having to work 4 days a week instead of 7. That was a goal for myself. I don't know. I mean, I would like to have more rental houses. I'd like to have, all those things that I dream about in my current building and maybe even beyond. But I mean, because I'm sitting there going, that is in business, they say that the problem with the business is that you work in the business, not working on the business. But that's a dichotomy for you as a chiropractor because, I mean, like you are the business. Like if you're not working in the business and literally serving patients, well, that is the main piece of the business itself. Right. So 4 days a week would be a level balance for you? Correct, yeah. Physically, 7 days a week is a bit too rough on the body.
A bit.
So, yeah. I'm also would like to go back and do a little bit more continuing education. Whenever I was in chiropractic school, I knew I was going to do acupuncture. And so some of the states I was originally thinking about going to only required 200 hours. I went above and beyond and got 285, but Indiana requires 300. So I'm literally 15-hour seminar away from doing acupuncture.
Really?
But as it's been in both of my original buildings, I just didn't have the space for it.
Okay.
But also with all my dreams, I don't really have the space for it in this new building either.
But I mean,
I actually do. I can make the space inside this building, and so that's a backup plan. If I was in a car accident and something happened to my wrist, acupuncture would, I'd have another chiropractor do the adjustments. I would do acupuncture in there, So just backup plans.
Well, but I mean, I want to say that that's innovation, but it's almost like that's ancient Chinese secret stuff too. I mean, I don't imagine that many people in Kokomo are too familiar with those kind of services, but it's something that I have long been interested in, just because I understand the inner workings of your body, and again, you're manipulating the nerves, not necessarily the joints.
It's with that one. It's hard to explain to people, but it's more about energy balance and chi and just balancing everything. But even with chiropractic, we're just balancing everything so that it can operate at its best.
Okay. Well, and maybe that's one of the reasons that I have more respect for chiropractors, because it's like Western medicine looks at us like a machine, and Eastern medicine looks at us like a body of energy. And okay, if a chiropractor understands and gets that, well, then maybe that's why a doctor doesn't want to give them any credit, because they were just trained in Western medicine to look at us like a machine.
Right. But I wouldn't. But medical doctors, they know what they've been trained, and we know we've been trained. If there was a person who had a bullet, wound, please don't come to me.
Oh, no. And the thing is, and if by, for whatever stroke of I ended up, I get a bullet in me, like, no, I'm happy that I'm in America to appreciate Western medicine.
Yes.
It's that if you're going to prescribe me a pill, I'm going to be like, no, I can let me look towards Eastern medicine and the energy side of it. And
anytime you can, try conservative methods first. A lot of times when you do go for musculoskeletal issues, when you go to a medical doctor, they are going to give you, a lot of times they give you muscle relaxers or steroids that do help with that. But sometimes it's just, you need to step back with chiropractors, we step back and we look, what's actually causing this inflammation, and we're going to try to
fixing the problem, not the symptom.
Right. Yeah. But very thankful that we do have medical doctors, because sometimes they have so much pain, their muscles are so tense you couldn't possibly even get through those muscles to
make
help
the adjustment.
correct the
No,
musculoskeletal problems. So I mean, there's a lot of
and that's what I said. And I don't want to, because I have been so bad that I've had to default to the painkillers. And when it gets really bad, then the Flexeril, the muscle relaxers, and it's the only way to get the muscle spasms to stop in order to actually open it up so that you can do your job. So I'm not sitting here knocking that like there's not a place for.
I just wanted to make sure that they didn't think that I think medical doctors don't have their place, because they absolutely do. And I'm thankful for them.
And you know what? Maybe things have come along more on their end of it, because for a long time it just, like, medical doctors would not give chiropractors their due for all of the benefit that they actually brought.
Considered quacks.
Yeah, and that's what I'm like.
But now we're a lot more science-based. I actually get a lot of referrals from medical doctors and nurse practitioners and cardiologists.
Really?
Because a lot of times when a rib's out of place, our ribs even start like right at the base of our, the base where our neck and our shoulders meet pretty much. And if, they go to the hospital thinking they're having a heart attack because they're getting pain shooting down their, might be on their left side, might be on the right side, but pain shooting down their arm, pain when, they take a deep breath in. So they think they're having a heart attack. But they go to the ER or go, they get all tested. There's nothing going on. They can't find anything. So sometimes they'll send them to us, and usually it's just a rib out of place, giving all those crazy
So you're actually getting the referrals then. Yeah. Okay, that honestly, that makes me feel even better about it then. Okay, because I mean, doctors do and say what they do, and I would not wanting to necessarily be confrontational when I would hear them making just, I don't need, maybe not necessarily derogatory comments, but comments in which they would just totally blow off the thought.
I've heard a lot of those too, but I'm trying to bridge that gap in between, where we have a good, medical doctors and chiropractors have a good working relationship.
Okay.
But I have heard many people say, "Oh, my doctor said never go to a chiropractor; they'll break your neck."
Mm-hmm. And it's stuff like that it's like it discredits the doctor to the point where I'm like, okay, obviously you're not well enough informed, which means I don't even want to trust you as a doctor if you're willing to make those statements about a chiropractor. And okay, we won't go down that rabbit hole.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know how. I mean, and I say that I was about to say I don't know how you are on social media, but do you have many social media channels?
I do. I'm big on Facebook, but whenever I'm doing my projects, sometimes I let that go a little. I don't post as often as I should. But I tried an Instagram for a little while, but I've never really gotten an Instagram. I do have a Twitter, but I haven't really tweeted very much. I just don't.
I tried a TikTok.
I haven't tried TikTok, but those are really popular right now. All the
I showed you those videos.
Everyone says you should do some TikTok videos. I've definitely thought about it, but I just spend almost every moment that I get in the office, before until the moment I close, just adjusting patients, and so it's it's hard.
You're blessed.
It's definitely a blessing. But I haven't had that much time to be on social media.
Okay, one of the things that I found useful was that when I would go find you on Facebook, I would be able to find out whether it was you or whether it was somebody else in the actual office.
Yes, I always try to post a doctor's schedule on my Facebook and on my website. My website was recently sold, so I can't fix anything on it. So it has my February calendar on it, which is driving me crazy.
And we should be having that fixed.
And I'm purchasing website through Scared Rabbit.
Okay. And that was because I was talking to Jeremy about that, and he was telling me that he was letting you know that there had been
one of my domains had expired, and he let me know that, and I fixed it yesterday.
Okay.
So it's all fixed now.
Good deal, because that's the thing is, like I said,
I wouldn't have even known if Jeremy didn't message me.
And he's pretty good about that stuff. But I mean, I think that with everything that you have put together, that the new website should hopefully it will impress you. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be super excited about everything that you can learn on it. Yeah. Okay, so if they want to find you on Facebook, where do they find you on Facebook?
If you just type in Unlimited Chiropractic, it'll find me.
Okay. Yep. Just that good. Just type in Unlimited Chiropractic.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This is like I said. This doctor has been adjusting me for, Jesus, it's been almost 10 years now. It's amazing how time actually flies. But thank you very much for coming in. I'm literally like, it is a personal testament that I'm telling you, if you are hard to adjust, if you have little patience for the waiting rooms and the times, if you are in Kokomo, you should definitely check out Unlimited Chiropractic. You will not be disappointed. And I mean, like, if you are a guy that needs an adjustment because you need somebody that's literally going to move you, I'm telling you, this woman will cause adjustments. I am personally attesting it. I was very impressed, and once I was impressed, it was literally, I looked at John and was like, "Sorry, dude, that's what she took your place. That's what it was, and it's been that way ever since." So, Amanda, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay, guys, please comment. Let me know what your comments are, what your thoughts are on chiropractic. Rate the show, share the show. And until next time, you guys have a good night.